Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H event space. Today we have the wonderful Vail Fucci talking to us about
Hello.
how to make that profitable pivot. We want to be happier. We want to make more money. We want the work-life balance, Vail. That's why we have you here.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Derek, for having me here. And I just have to say, it's a complete dream come true. I was telling my family this morning, I literally remember the exact moment I ordered my very first thing from B&H, a set of Ilford paper back in 2000 with it there. So to be here is just an incredible come round full circle dream. So,
I love it. I always love these full circle moments. It's a similar story here. I was a customer way, 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 way before I was an employee here, and I made a profitable pivot back then. My profitable pivot was a little bit different, but you're going to be talking to us about switching up genres, which is
yeah.
something that has worked out well for you. So we welcome you here. It's great to have you on. I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm going to, of course, turn to our audience here and invite them to throw in any questions throughout. If you guys do want to ask Vale anything, just drop it into the YouTube chat. And Vale, do your thing. I'll see you in a bit for some Q&A.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. I'm just going to share my screen here and grab my presentation. All right, everyone. So, yep, today I'm going to be talking about making a profitable pivot. And that's exactly what I did in my life here. So, I had kind of an unusual path towards photography, but I bet most of you out there had a similar type of thing because very few of us that are professional photographers started out actually going to school for it. So, I started in bioengineering, ended up going in to get a PhD in bioethics, ended up in DC, and then ended up realizing that I wasn't nearly as enthralled with politics as I thought I would be when everything went just kind of to create partisanship and craziness there. And so my family could actually tell. I was totally surprised. For Christmas in 2009, my husband gave me a thing to open up that was papers for an LLC for Fucci's Photos, is what it was called back then. And he said, Here, this is your dream. I believe in you. I think you can really do this. And I was like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought about, really going out and doing this. But he said that he thought that that would be the best path for me. And my gosh, was he right. So at the time, I had lots of friends that were getting married and stuff. And so what seemed like the natural progression for me was wedding photography. And I loved it with every fiber of my being. If you look at that picture in the bottom corner, like during all these things, literally, I have a smile like that big when shooting weddings and that. And it was wonderful. Within just a couple of years, we had gone from living in DC because that's where we were, and for me doing policy stuff to moving to Boston because nothing was holding me to DC anymore when I switched to weddings and my husband's family was here. So we moved here, and in a short span of time, we were named one of the best wedding photographers in Boston by local CBS news station that was here. Then I even got to go and do a talk at Creative Live on stripping away the stereotypes from weddings. And I even had the opportunity when people who were in the fashion industry saw how great the shots were of brides, they said, I can't wait to see what you can do with models. So I got to go and shoot Fashion Week in New York, which was incredible. And then the second Fashion Week I was shooting, while I was there, I found out I was pregnant with my first child, my son, Ben. And in that moment, everything changed. I had gone from thinking in my world of success was going and being a speaker and getting on the scene there, be a speaker at WPPI, all those different types of things, come on B&H. And it changed. And I'm sure a lot of you out there have had that moment where things just with different priorities in your life change. And so I kind of really ramped it down quite a bit when he was born. And then in 2015, I had my daughter and I became full-time mom. It just did not make sense for me to be going and doing photography, leaving them at home with it because the amount I was making was so minimal that honestly, I couldn't have even paid for childcare to be doing that. So if you look at my revenue versus hours a week, I was working so many hours at the very beginning, right there in 2010 and such, and it ramped up into 2012 and that. And with it, I'd be spending all my time editing in the middle of the night with it there. This was the days before you had Imagen and Evoto and Aftershoot and all those things. So all the culling, all the editing and stuff like that really took its toll on my time. And so I said, I can't continue doing this. It just isn't going to work for me to continue doing this with weddings. So in 2018, I had an opportunity. Someone asked me to do a headshot of their daughter for her real estate. And I said, okay, I'll try. And I said, let me give it a go. I watched a Gary Hughes creative live class on headshots. Shout out to Gary there. And I said, okay, I'll try. And as it turned out, I loved it. I never would have thought so. I would have thought headshots so boring, but oh my gosh, it was incredible to be able to have a little bit more time to actually relax with your client right in front of you and be able to show them how beautiful they actually can be. It was incredible. And so then lastly from that, then I kind of got into a different aspect, an avenue of it there from kind of what I'd done before with weddings to I ended up back in 2022 getting hooked up with Spot My Photos, which is a wonderful means of distribution of images there for instant image sharing you can do, but also just private sharing of different images with people. And it took all those different skills I had with wedding photography, but made it so that I did corporate photography so I could do it during the week. And that just fit much better with me and having kids that were school age. So I would be in control of my time. So just looking at this right here of this chart that we've got here as to why I call this a profitable pivot is if we look and see, this graph is going to show you my earnings over time. So this is right from the very start. Here's where I thought 2014, I'm making it. I'm going, I am making revenues of $60,000 as a wedding photographer. Yes, that is awesome. And it is awesome. But if you go ahead and look and see the amount of hours I was working, let's see, it looks somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 60 hours a week. And sometimes it was probably more. And compare that down to the ratio of what I was doing, it's barely even minimum wage. So it was a passion, but I was not making much profit. And once you go ahead and have kids, you have to sit there and say, okay, well, my time with my kids is really valuable. What's going to be enough for me to get out there and leave them for me to make the sense of making money doing this? So then we can see the time that happened. And then there was COVID. Right before COVID, I had just finally committed to saying I'm going to really focus on headshots. And as much as it was awful for the world, it also oftentimes had those silver linings. And for me, it did. I ended up seeing Glitch put on by, I think it was Sal Sankata, and he had Vanessa Joy and Peter Hurley on for that. And it kindled it in my head. I said, okay, I think I actually have time enough to try this headshot crew thing that Peter had, and gave me the time to really invest in myself to try to learn all the different techniques. And then by 2021, when I was vaccinated and everything came around, it was amazing. I got a studio outside my home with it there, and you can just see on this graph how this has risen. It has just been crazy. So in the year 2022, I brought in somewhere in the neighborhood of like $169,000 in revenue from headshots, pretty much headshots alone. And then, and I'll talk about it more later about SEO and things changing, I didn't realize how much my SEO and times and things had changed. That dropped. But then coming up of here for the year now of projected values, I'm coming in at already for the year at about $100,000 right now for revenues. And so we've got a lot more time to go going with that. So these are things I just never even thought possible when I was shooting weddings. And you can look and see, I'm basically doing that at a steady 35 hours a week. So I'm the one that's there. I'm able to, and I'm just trying to advance my slide here. Hold on. Come here, slide. There we go. I'm able to go and pick up those kiddos from school. I drop them off. I am the main child care provider for our family. And that means the world to me with it there, that I get to be there, not have to worry about them having, and to all powers to everybody, if you have to do stuff and have childcare for your kids, that's understandable. But at least for me, having that time with them afterwards to be able to help them with their homework, to be there and be present with them, it's very meaningful to me because I know that they're only little like this for so long. Yeah. Okay. So just to kind of go over again, why were headshots a good pivot for me? Because generally, first of all, I'm in charge of my schedule. Yeah, you could do headshots on the weekends, plenty of people ask. But I decided I was going to make it weekdays only. And I frankly am in charge of my schedule. So it's not even just weekdays only. I only do them when my kids are in the hours of them being in school or camp, be it. So it's usually between the hours of like 8:30 to 2:30. And that's it. The business isn't seasonal like it was with weddings for me. So it's year round. Uh, I am just blithely happy while I'm doing it. If anybody ever watches any of my behind the scenes and stuff like that, I'm literally dancing with it. And it honestly makes my clients really happy too. And the big one of this being a profitable pivot, I make much more money per hour than I ever was before. And so, why are corporate events also a good fit? Well, they actually dovetail really well with headshots. Something you may not realize is nowadays a lot of conferences and corporate events are having headshot booths at these different events to try to bring people over to their booth at, like, say, an expo, or overall the group that's putting on the conference want to provide it as a service to the attendees, etc. So I get a lot of requests for that. But then I'm able to kind of uh, put the two things together. And I'll say, by the way, if you're having shots of that, do you need photography of your conference? Or vice versa, if they're contracting me to do things of the contract with the conference photography and event, they'll say, by the way, have you thought of doing a headshot booth along with it there? So I can pair those two things together really nicely and bring on some of my other associate photographers to do one or the other while I'm either doing headshots or I'm doing the event coverage. Again, mostly it's weekdays. With it, again, business year round. The money is great in it there. And it makes for great connections because no matter what, if I'm going and I'm doing the different corporate events, usually most of these companies also need headshots. And most of the headshot companies also need corporate events. So I'm able to connect with these people on lots of different levels that are attendees. And then that kind of spreads out and makes it so that I'm able to get more jobs. Basically, every corporate event I do leads into more other jobs that spin off from it. And lastly, I'm able to use those hard-honed wedding skills that I had back in the day of it, as well as the same type of gear that we use with it. So that's an extra benefit. Didn't really have to buy anything new for it. Okay. All right. So I will say this, headshots, event photography isn't for everybody. So if that's the case and you're still going, I want to only be working 9 to 5 during the middle of the week. I don't want to be a weekend warrior anymore, but I don't want to do those other things you said, Vail. What should I consider? Well, there's lots of things, and I've done a fair bit of them. There's product photography. I actually shoot for one company that does called Aim and Lulu that does these beautiful bags for tennis and golf and lifestyle stuff. And it always makes me laugh when people say like, "Oh, you've been in Vogue and you've been in Cosmo, your stuff." And I'm like, "Yes, my pictures of tennis bags have been in Vogue and those things, but they've been there." Yeah, but that's a neat one. And you can do that in your own home very easily with setting up a small product photography studio, doing stuff, products on white, etc. Newborn photography. That's another one that really you can limit it to weekdays because think about it. When people have their babies, they end up coming and having maternity leave at first with it there. You don't even have to necessarily have a studio. You can do lifestyle shoots, go to people's homes and take the photos there. Food photography, another one you can do there, do it in restaurants, things that are needed. Real estate photography, obviously, you don't need a studio for that one. And most of the time, the people are looking for you coming out on weekdays. Fashion photography, believe it or not, nowadays, even in the smaller cities and stuff like that, you have all sorts of burgeoning people coming out with the ability of having online stores and stuff like that, of needing their product to be photographed. So you don't have to necessarily be in New York or LA to do some fashion photography. Dating profiles, huge, and is so incredible of it making you feel good because afterwards, when you see people end up going and getting married and stuff like that who've wanted to have that significant other their whole life, it's an amazing thing to be part of that journey. And lastly, personal branding. This is one that is coming up huge now. So if you want to do more than just here headshots and stuff like that, of having it be full body shots, portraits, if you love doing portrait work, this is a very marketable area that you can get into. So how was it that I figured that I needed to make this work for me? Because I realized that lots of stuff was kind of being a time suck for me. So I need to look through, and for any business, what you're doing, go through, determine, and minimize what are your time sucks so that you can be as efficient as possible. So for me, those time sucks were retouching, culling, crop creation, client communications, doing all those emails back and forth, making contracts and stuff like that. And last but not least, my least favorite thing of all, bookkeeping. So I sat there and I went, okay, how can I make all these be better and less time consuming for me? So the solution was work smarter, not harder, as they say here around in Boston area. So there are different ways you can do this. You can embrace AI and new tech. You can use automated customer relations management type of stuff and templates, or outsource. So I'll just mention some of the key ones that are out there for embracing AI and new tech. I know a lot of us have been really nervous with AI coming out with it in the photography industry, but I am frankly finding it to be my best friend. So if you're still doing stuff where you need to do lots of culling and have bulk edits going over it with things there, for things like doing wedding photography still, doing their branding stuff, etc. Using things like Imagen, Aftershoot, those are brilliant. If you've got stuff that you are sitting there going, it just wasn't crisp enough, Topaz Labs, something I use on the regular for making sure that those little images are perfectly sharp if you need it. Then other ones are Evoto. Evoto is one for when it comes to us doing portrait and headshot work. That truly is my best friend now, and I'll get into it more. Spot My Photos, again, we'll get into it more, my other best friend. I also use Capture One, ChatGPT, and Send It. As far as it goes for the automated templates, 17 Hats, Canva, Zapier, QuickBooks, or others. And then the last that I'll mention that you can do, I personally don't really use any of them anymore. I did at one point use several retouchers that were people to save time with it there. But it ended up being, to get quality results was fairly expensive overall with the amount of volume that I do. And so finding things like Evoto that gave me the results I wanted in a shorter amount of time and much less expensive made a lot of sense. Another thing you do is have a studio manager. You can have an actual accountant, or get a remote assistant is another possibility with it there that exists now, that you don't have to, in this remote world, you don't have to have a studio manager that's physically sitting there. You can have them from either all across the country that you're in or from across the world. Okay. So these are the things I'm going to focus on that were particular game changers for me that made these things possible. Okay. So let me go through here. First, we'll go through the tremendous time savers. So AI retouching with Evoto, I can't say enough about this for what it's done. If you look at this image that's showing here beforehand, this is an image that before would have taken a considerable amount of time with glasses having the reflection down in the bottom there with it. That would be something that, to make it look right and do it in Photoshop, easily, 10, 20 minutes for me to get it to the level of satisfaction that I was happy with. Now it's literally just a slider and it's gone and it looks amazing. It helps with if people have acne. It helps just so many different things. And honestly, I don't even use a professional retoucher anymore because of this program. When I had people writing me who are my retouchers, why aren't you going and bringing stuff to me anymore? I said, I'm sorry, this is why. So it literally saves me thousands of dollars a year and gives me in the process back hours of my week. And I'll tell you just how easy it is. My little 8-year-old daughter that you saw on the previous slide, one of her favorite things to do is use it. She thinks editing is great, and it is truly so easy an 8-year-old can do it. Now, just to let you know, I'm not regularly employing her to do that, but I frankly, honestly could. And so the nice people at Evoto, you can see there's a QR code there. If you want to try that out, gave me a thing so that you can, if you scan that QR code, get 30 free edits to try with it there. The really cool thing, the software is completely free with it there. So it is truly a risk-free thing to get into to try it out. The only thing I will warn you is you will be pretty much addicted to it afterwards. And the other thing is you really need to work on, when you use Evoto, of making sure you don't do it too far. It allows you to make people so perfect that it's almost unbelievable. So I'll give you the clue. Dial it back a little bit when you're doing stuff there to make sure that they still look like, human beings, but the best versions of themselves. All right, next one. Shooting events with Spot My Photos. Okay. This is another one that is just mind blowing to me. So before, when I would be shooting events for people, be it weddings or corporate events, I would have to then come home and cull through the images and retouch them. And I would go and I would crop and do every single thing. It would take, for weddings, it took me weeks of turnaround time to get these stuff to people. Corporate stuff, they'd always want it quicker. So I would just be up for hours on end for days in a row getting these things turned around to them. Now I get it so that I go to an event, I use Spot My Photos, people get their images right in real time. Now, it can either be that the organizer themselves are the only ones to, or for the absolute giant wow factor that this is what now I'm being booked time and time again for, is that the attendees of the event actually all get their own personal individual galleries in real time too. And they can be branded, so people can be going and posting these images right in real time on their social feeds and stuff like that, which the organizers just go gaga for because it's basically free marketing for them. And the attendees think of it almost as like a badge of honor that it shows like the name of the event and stuff like that that they've been to. So this is great on multiple levels because now I don't have to come home and even do culling on it. You might say like, oh, well, I don't want everybody to see everything that I'm doing if there's mistakes. Well, I do. Anytime there's a lull in the action, right in the app, I can go to delete the ones here and there of ones that I don't like. But honestly, people understand when you're going and you're getting them images in real time, they're not expecting you to cull out every single thing that's there. They're going to be able to pick out the stuff. I'm also right in real time from the app, able to pick out and from there highlight the ones I want and put that right into a highlight gallery right there. So if it's that you don't want them going and seeing every single thing that you're doing, you can make it so they're only seeing the highlight gallery. It's unbelievable. And then last but not least, they have several months ago now integrated this auto optimization feature where, honest to goodness, you could take a shot that if you didn't even like your flash misfired and you sit there going, it's so painfully dark. How is this going to be? It will somehow lift that information out of that JPEG and make it a usable image with it there. So I have taken people who are my assistants or interns, people who haven't really shot much at all, and just handed them a camera and said, it's okay, go ahead, have some fun, take some pictures. And even if the exposures and stuff like that aren't perfect or the white balance, the auto optimization feature takes care of it for me and makes it look amazing. So I have no real fears of the images that people are getting with it there. I do teach lots of people if they are trying to get it just exactly perfect in camera, how to do that. That's something I regularly teach. But be that as it may, even if you weren't the world's greatest getting it straight out of camera photographer, it takes care of it for you. So people are blown away when they get their images right away. And that means that people will say, I have got to have you at my future events. So that gets me more business. And I have no editing, no more culling. The event is done. The job is done. I go home. I'm done. So that is just truly, truly amazing for me there. So, and basically at this point, I'm getting paid for doing less work and I'm getting paid more to do it because people see this as a real amazing experience that they get. And it is. It's an incredible service. And for those of you that, if I haven't convinced you to switch out of weddings to doing something else, it works great for weddings. I actually, this past year, came out of retirement from weddings very briefly for a family friend. And by the end of this evening of shooting this stuff there, and the way I shot their wedding was exactly like this. I didn't edit a single piece. They got it, every image right there that you've seen. That was all straight out of camera, right processed with the auto optimization. I had 7 different couples at the end of that evening ready to sign and book for me to be their wedding photographer, who I sadly had to disappoint and say, I'm so sorry. I really don't normally do weddings anymore. This was only a one-time deal of this. And they were so bummed because they wanted that. So it is truly the best marketing tool and my friend for saving time when it comes to my business. And oh, and I forgot, boop, back here, the QR code that's up here. That's my special code for you guys. You don't need to worry about that one. It's the one that's up here, and that will give you a discount if it's something that you're interested in trying out. That. Thank you, Spot My Photos, for that. Okay, 17 hats. This is another great one of time saver there. This is one that allows you to both save time and look very professional at the same time doing it with the powers of automation. So with this, I use it for everything I possibly can think of. I have it for my online booking. I use it for my easy bookkeeping for me, so I don't have to go and use QuickBooks anymore. I don't need to have an accountant going through the stuff. And I do it for automated client communication workflows, which is really amazing because I don't have the time or the bandwidth or the memory, frankly, to sit there and remind my clients, an hour before their session or the day before their session or anything along those lines of all the important things they need to remember. But 17 Hats does. I've gone in, made different workflows with it there of different emails, and it sends those things off in advance. It personalizes it. You can see with it having certain different things in there of tags that make it what they call tokens with it in there that make it possible. And if I'm sitting there and needed to create something new, it even has AI built in to help me generate the different text that's in there. But the best thing is if I'm not having to touch it or do a thing. You do all the different documents that you would need right up front, and then it automatically just generates and sends those out to you for every client because they're repetitive tasks. And that's the power of automation right there, is if you're able to capture anything that you're doing as a repetitive task and have it be able to do that for you, that's time saving. So that is huge for me. And the amazing thing is the way the clients respond, they'll be like, thank you so much for sending that to me. I would have totally forgotten. Oh, I love your emails that you send. They're so personal. And I'm sitting there going like, it's actually all automated, but thank you. So it's a great way to do it. And if you use the code that's down here, that also will give you a discount on 17 Hats membership with that there. My new fun friend is ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT more than I ever expected because at first I was like, okay, content generation, what could this possibly be? Oh my gosh, so many things I can use it for. Yes, you can use it for content creation, just even of getting some ideas. If you're writing a proposal, you have someone coming up of saying like, I need this particular job for personal branding. And you want to go, okay, how can I get in some nice copy and stuff like that, or say for my website to talk about that of what I do. Instead of sitting there and busting my head against a wall and trying to get things just right of my message, I go to ChatGPT and I say, oh, create a blog post for me about personal branding and a photographer who gives great customer service and listens to their clients. The more detail you give, the more, very specific it'll be to you. It's unbelievable. Saves me hours and hours and hours of time. For it of your business plans and even just brainstorming ideas in general, just ask it a question. And speaking of asking questions, for research, if you're sitting there going, I want to know what's the best way to do XYZ. Or in this case, for me, the other day, I sat there going, okay, I need positive words that start with the letter V. More on that on why I was doing that later. And I just say, give me 50 words that are positive connotations with the letter V. Bam, brings it up. Bringing all this into one thing instead of spending my time going and doing tons and tons of just really thinking about it there. It's so helpful. Now, at the end of the day, what you want to make sure is you don't just grab the stuff and throw it up there, whatever it did. You need to go through, put in your own personal touches to it. So it isn't just generated AI, and that we're doing iterative stuff over and over again, and everybody getting the same stuff. Personalize it to you. But at the same time, it is so helpful in getting you to your starting point there to jump off instead of just feeling like you're stuck with writer's block. Next is for when it goes down to every second counts for me. When I am shooting stuff for a large company, say I've got to do 90 headshots for a company, and they want to make sure that all of them, the heads are the same size in it there. And while I shoot on a tripod and all those types of things with it there, I need to deliver X number of crops in different ways. I used to just go and do it by hand. And I sat there and I thought, okay, I can do this. How much time does it take? What am I going to do? Like, why would I use a plugin or something like that to do it? Until I realized that, again, every second counts of my day and time gets eaten up, particularly when, like we said before, it's repetitive tasks. There's no reason for me to spend my time doing that when something else can be automated and do it. So, luckily, James Van Hees, a fellow Headshot crew member, created this great plugin for uh, Photoshop that I use that will resize and crop with AI subject detection. And nowadays, if you're really concerned about the different things about things being posted, of it having that thing saying, oh, AI has been used on this image, it actually does an AI metadata scrub if you'd like it to. So that is super, super, super helpful. All right. So we talked about saving money. Sorry, we talked about saving time. Here's how we make more money doing these things. So the first thing is honestly perfect your craft, because people aren't going to pay lots and lots of money if your stuff isn't very good. But how do we go about doing that? Well, in my case, it was that I said, okay, I'm doing headshots now. I'm not doing weddings anymore. So I said, I've got to go to the best of the best and find out how to do this. You could go to ChatGPT and ask, how do I learn about this? And it'll make suggestions. I'm telling you, at least right now, my suggestions as to how to get better. So with it there, the first and foremost is the quickest way, and this kind of goes in order here, from most useful to kind of the least useful type of things there, except for that practice, practice, practice one. That one is right up there. So the first is in-person workshops and private lessons with it there. Not everybody can afford this type of thing. It really is the fast track with it, because when you have somebody standing right in front of you that is the expert and is explaining these things to you, you can ask the questions. It's a wonderfully being in person. So no matter what genre you're looking at, I highly suggest trying to find out who are the best people in it there and look to see what type of educational resources they have available. The next is regular participation in an online educational community. So in my case, that's what I did. It was for Peter Hurley's Headshot Crew. And if you want to get into headshots, I can't say enough about this. If you want to be the top of your craft at doing this and learn how to make people feel good when they're in front of the camera and how to see all these little tiny little details that make something different, of, making sure that your person's hair isn't and splayed over one shoulder, or that having it so that they look their absolute best, not having double chins, you name it, and in fabulous light all at the same time. That is the way to go. I can say that wholeheartedly. And Peter is not paying me to say this. I really feel it. And I am thankful to him for creating a community like that where I was able to learn this. The next is online courses, different places. Now, they're not really generating new content anymore, but still available out there. Creative Live, that's where I also got most of my wedding training and stuff like that back in the day. Now there's Portrait Masters, F-Stoppers, B&H, and also lots of top photographers' websites. Lots of us have our own online education platforms. And I'll tell you about mine a little bit later. And the next is photography conferences, going to things like WPPI, imaging, going to those, and you get to see these different talks in person. And a lot of them have also photo walks. While they may not be what you think of as a traditional photo walk of like you're going outside and taking pictures of friends, they're actually that you're learning right firsthand with the actual instructor right there as to how to be doing the shots. Next, not as useful, but still useful, YouTube. There are tremendous amounts of free resources out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad information, not so great information, sprinkled among the really amazing kernels of information. One of my favorite people to get information from online on YouTube that I highly recommend following, Vanessa Joy. She is phenomenal with the amount of information she puts out there free. And Gary Hughes. Both of them are just absolutely wonderful, prolific people at putting stuff on YouTube that is super helpful. Next is books. At least for me, even though I have a book, I've actually written one, I am personally dyslexic. So for me, learning from books only gets me so far. Having stuff that's right in front of me and having a person helpful, but for other people, it's great. So by all means, check books. And then last is Facebook groups and stuff like that. With it there, again, some of them can be tremendously helpful. There are ones out there I highly, highly recommend joining. John Meadows has one called Making Bank with Photography. That was transformative to me for my business of making money and pricing and stuff like that and changing things with it there. And it can just be a great support community as well as going for Facebook. Unfortunately, you do have a fair bit of people who are trolls on there, not in John's group, just in general on Facebook and online, that can be not so nice with it there. And when you're starting your own business or you're continuing yours and trying to go with it, you need a good supportive environment. So if you're in one, it's good having constructive criticism, tough love, all those types of things. But if you have people that just are constantly taking you down, maybe look towards a new group or try an online class. And then last but not least is practice, 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 practice. There's no substitute for it. Getting people in, get free people. Go if you need subjects to shoot, look for different actors groups online that need headshots, need portraits, stuff like that, that will be willing to come in for free and do a TFP, paid for the time there, would trade for the print with it there or the digital file in these days to get it. And just to give you an idea of the difference these types of things can make, if you look at the shot here, this is the same fellow on the right-hand side. You see that was from early 2019 with it, actually not late 2019 because it was fairly close to the pandemic when it started. And then after, when I had done my time with the headshot crew, I think you can see which one is clearly better with it there. And you can see it's kind of neat being able to photograph the same person over time and see the difference in your work. All right. Next part of how you're making more money is having a well-designed, audience-targeted, SEO-friendly website. And with that there, if you're wondering what the QR code that's there, that one is to Squarespace. And I will, let me just see, I'm trying to remember, do I get into it? No, I will briefly mention between the two of those different things here. You'll hear me talk a lot about Squarespace when I talk about web design, stuff like that. And then you'll go to my own website and be like, but Vail, you use WordPress and Notion WP. Why would you recommend Squarespace? Well, I luckily have a background in engineering. And so using code and doing stuff and going online, dealing with website design and stuff. And actually my dissertation was even on usability analysis of people using websites. So I have a background in that. So for me, it's not very hard to use with it. And it's actually, when it comes down to it for SEO usage and stuff like that, WordPress is definitely a far superior platform to Squarespace. But that being said, if you're going to want to be able to change and make your content and stuff like that yourself, which I highly recommend with doing that, going and doing that, if you are not a super technical person with, even though it's, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get type of thing, it's really not easy to do for a lot of people in WordPress. So in those cases, I recommend for the bulk of people to use something like Squarespace because it's really nice that you have all these beautiful laid out designs that are designed by graphic designers that know what they're doing. It's nice, responsive, easy, and it just works. You don't have to worry about updates and all sorts of different stuff. And it's super, super easy and user-friendly for you to change the content yourself. So highly recommend that. And don't try to just, even if you did Squarespace, of going and doing like, oh, I'm just going to go blank and start for myself. Use some of their modern templates that are already there. There's a reason why you're a photographer and not a graphic designer. These people that have made these templates know what they're doing. So it's a good idea to use that. Next is for your website with the copy and stuff like that. If you come up with you can either go from scratch of making your own content, but I highly recommend then plugging it into ChatGPT and asking it to now take what you wrote and make it more concise. Or you can go into ChatGPT to have it just generate what it thinks would be some good material for a photographer's website. You won't believe it. If you literally go and to ChatGPT and say, give me content for a main homepage for a headshot photographer, see what it gives you. You'll be alarmed at how good and accurate and helpful the stuff is. The next is making your website search engine optimized with it there. You've heard SEO out the wazoo. I learned from years ago, I just thought, oh, if I put in a plugin of Yoast with that, I just put it in. It'll optimize it. That was not the case. I completely misunderstood that usage of that plugin. I finally this year got the premium and went through their Yoast University or a Yoast Academy, whichever it is, I don't remember, and figured out how to actually do SEO on my website. And it was a matter of doing that in just a matter of days. I went from being like third page down on Google, not third one down, third page, like no one's looking there, no one. I was basically just getting by with of anybody finding me through my business page listing at a minimum. That was the only way people were finding me, not through, the regular search pages of Google, to being in the top three, not top three pages, top three listings in a matter of days. Now I'm lucky. I'm in the Boston market. I'm not in New York or LA, so I don't have to fight nearly as hard for SEO type of stuff there. But it's amazing with it there, the difference that it made. So if you do have a WordPress-based website, I can't recommend Yoast Premium enough. But you have to go through and follow all the different things it tells you to do to make sure that you're getting those good titles of your site, making sure you're getting your good descriptions and snippets and stuff like that for it, getting those alt image text things put in there so that it's useful. The beauty of using Yoast is that it tells you if you've done it too much, too little, all these different things with it there. If you do not have a WordPress-based website, Squarespace does have some basic tools and stuff like that. And if you even just Google Squarespace SEO, it will bring you to the different pages that have their suggested information on how to do it. It just doesn't make it quite as automated, quite as easy, and quite as in-depth as you're going to get with Yoast. The interesting thing is you can actually still, even if you're a Squarespace user, buy the Yoast Premium, which gives you access to that Yoast University or Yoast Academy, whichever it was, to teach you all that same information and give you the links to getting stuff, and tells you like about getting a Wincher account, getting a SEMrush account so that you're getting good keywords and all these different things and doing that. It teaches you all those different things for like $99. It was worth every single penny to me. So you can still apply all those same principles that you learned from it without actually having a WordPress site, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, when you're going over your website, it's important to think like a client. So many of us, when we're first making our websites, we're just thinking what we think would be great and what it would be looking like and what we want to present. At the end of the day, we need to think of what our clients are looking for. So if you are switching from weddings into just about any other genre other than, babies, newborns, and stuff like that, the sites are going to be way less touchy-feely, would be the way I'd describe it. You need to get right to the message of what you want. You want to also make sure that you have landing pages that are very specific to your message, because someone who's looking for actor headshots doesn't want to be looking at pictures of my button-down corporate headshot pages. So I actually have different landing pages for those different things. I have my main page that goes with these things, but I have intentionally done each of these different niche markets making pages for those that target to it. With it there, I also need to think, what is the information that they want to find? I need to make it easy for them to book me. I need to make it easy for them to find my pricing. If you are of the school that you don't want to actually show your prices online, I'm of the school that I like to. But if you don't, that's fine. But make it easy for them to be able to contact you and find that information out, or make an opt-in form that they're able to, while it goes and gives you that information, that it instantly, upon them giving the information, that they're able to see the pricing, things like that. This is the information people want to know when they are going and doing these types of more transactional photography that isn't as emotionally based. So make sure you think about these things and make it very, very clear. The last thing is, with that of thinking like a client, is making sure that your portfolio is your best work. It is far better to literally only have 6 images on a page and them all be knockout pictures than have 30 pictures on the page and those 6 knockout ones be mixed in with the other 24. They're good pictures, but they're not like, I have got to have this person do that. You want to make sure that of the portfolio shots that you do have diversity shown there. Figure your target market with it there. But at the same time, you want to say, okay, am I focusing on all the different people that I'm likely to serve here with it? So in the case of headshots, I have all the way from very young people who are just getting out of college, all the way to showing people who are, CEOs of companies, older, even senior citizens. I try to run the gamut of showing all those different types of aspects with it there. So have those different people that I'm aiming to cater to have pictures of them, because everybody likes to see an example of somebody who looks like them, so they feel like you're thinking of them as your market. Okay. So that's why you're going to want to target specific niches. People want experts. They don't want a jack of all trades. Even if you are a jack of all trades, make those separate websites for the different things that you do. Narrow your focus with it there. And so, like I was saying before, narrow that specific landing pages. And it's not just better for the client, it's also better for search engine optimization. As I was speaking before with it, things that are more emotion-based niches are going to be wedding, newborn, maternity, boudoir, family, portrait, pet, seniors. The rest of the ones that kind of fall into my stuff they're the need-based ones are commercial photography, headshots, product, food, fashion, real estate, with it, personal branding. Okay. So I wish I'd had this one up before when I had the other things, but as we were going through, so we had clear site navigation, making sure that as you go through, people can find that information, having it up at the absolute top, having it be having a nice clear menu, like I have showing down there at the bottom, making it responsive so that if they're showing it on their phone as well, because at the end of the day, you're going to find that more than half of your traffic is most likely people looking at things on their phone. Think of how many times you're viewing websites on your phone. So you need to make sure that every single page of your website, you go and you view it on your phone as well, so you can see what their experience is going to be like. Because sometimes the pictures, if it's responsible, make them different widths, etc. See if the font seems big enough, or if it seems too big and that things are hyphenating weird, stuff like that. With it. I'm just trying to think. Clear site navigation. Another is to also have both, to design for both infinite scrollers. Those are the people who like everything all on one page. And in that case, you have kind of general information on those different things with links to the other individual pages. And you also have people who are menu lovers, people who love to go and click on those independent pieces of their up at the menu and just scroll down and get into the nitty gritty weeds of exactly what you want. But you want to minimize the number of clicks they have to get to your information they want. Make it very clear, an easy way to contact you. And last but not least, the thing we want, you need to have an easy way for them to book you. And that, again, for me, goes back to 17 hats of having it be that I have my schedule through there. And just of getting into that, of back to work-life balance, of making sure I go through with my calendar on the back end. It's able to go and check any of the different things that I have on my calendar. So I have it sync with the different Google calendars I have. So I literally have one of a work calendar and a life one, which is funny because work is definitely part of my life, but we say work-life balance. So all the things, my kids' doctor appointments, our dinners, our going out to the movies, with it, anything that would take up time that I need to make sure to schedule around, it is able to nicely go and check those things first before letting anybody be able to schedule stuff online for me. So next is how to make that pivot to here. How do you go and market to those different clients, of business corporate clients? Because it's really different than when you were doing the stuff of weddings and stuff. So the first is with LinkedIn, doing a thing called post mining. Let me just see real quick before, yep, we'll get into that. And Canva for doing really nice job proposals, Spot My Photos as an event icebreaker. I'll explain that. And having really nice business cards. And I'll explain in a second why you want those. All right. So for LinkedIn, we call it playing the LinkedIn long game with it there. I have found, out of every different social media platform that I am on, my very best, without question, return on investment, ROI, is LinkedIn. And the reason being is that people are at work. These are the corporate types of people that I'm looking for. But a lot of the stuff, people are really bored with a lot of the stuff that they're looking at on it there. So having really nice images pop up is super refreshing to people. So I think that really connects with it there. So, what's the first step in playing the LinkedIn game? Well, the first is you're going to want to connect with every single person you already know. It doesn't matter if they are a photographer or if they are in do something that is, not specifically an industry that you want to get into. It's even better if it's an industry you want to shoot and stuff. But overall, connect with every person you know because they will be connected to other people as well. So that anytime you post something and then they like that, just like with Facebook of it making it be more likely that it shows up in other people's feeds, it's going to show up in their friends' feeds. From there, you can do what's called mining those posts for new connections. So, say you post something and with it there, and now not just your own connection is connecting to you and liking these posts, other people that you've never met before with it. You can go and connect on there or follow and stuff like that anyone who likes or comments on your posts. Then you have to go the extra mile there. As you've made these connections, now they're going to come up in your feed. Be sure to go and comment on their posts that they make. We're not going and putting in things about actually saying, you're not actually going in and saying, hey, I'm a headshot photographer. Let's work together. Anything like that. It's not that at all. It's not salesy. It's just connecting. That's it. And the reason why is because we don't want to be salesy. We just want people to, over time, see our stuff and be reminded time and again, because it's going to come up in their feed. If we've connected with them and they see what we've done and they see that we're a good person. So we also even put in some personal posts here and there and posts that position you as an expert, just giving advice to people and stuff like that. That is really effective at people then kind of developing an actual relationship with you, even if it's a virtual one that you've never met this person. And it will make them feel good about you and want to eventually do business with you. So just want to give a shout out. Again, the two people I've really learned the most about this from is John Meadows with that Making Bank with Photography group that he has there, and Kevin Tai, my wonderful friend here in Boston. And both of these people are people that I connected through with Headshot Crew people. And that's another benefit of joining all these different online groups is that you end up getting friends and people in the community that are there to support you, help you grow in ways and learn things that you never even thought possible. Like you sit there and you think when you're starting out photography business, it's all about just learning the ropes and of the ins and outs of your camera and taking the shots and that. But at the end of the day of making a successful business out of this, there's so much more to it there. And so having those people who just are a person that you can sit there and vent to about how that session did not go at all the way you wanted to. What could you do better? Different sales ideas and stuff like that. It's such a great thing to have that type of resource of people and a network of support. Next is when you do hopefully get people asking you, because you now have hopefully a really well SEO website there, and you've got them connecting with you, they're going to ask you for a proposal. So, or a lot of times what you get is, I need a quote for headshots with it there. And they're thinking they're just going to get a number. And they're going to get lots of things that just say a number. I never give just a number when I can, if it's possible. I instead attempt to wow them with a proposal. I make these proposals on Canva. I do this. It's really nice because it saves it. And actually, this entire presentation was made on Canva with it there. It saves all my past ones. So that honestly, it's just like when we were saying with 17 hats, there's lots of very similar elements from one different proposal to the next, because I'm basically giving proposals for headshots. I'm giving proposals for event photography, and sometimes both. Here and there might be video, but they all kind of fall in line with it there. So I make these simple proposals and then I just switch out the information based on the individuals. So in this case, you're seeing one for a price quote for Incept Data Solutions here. They had called. So what do? I look on their website, I grab their logo. If it's not right on their website, I just do a search for logo and whatever the name of the company is, and I drag that in. Ooh, they're already seeing personalization. If it was for events specifically, I'd have events pictures on the front. Otherwise, if we're doing headshots of that type, I'd put in samples right there. Talk about what the job description is, find out those details, any additional options that they might want. Because sometimes they don't even know that they want something like that they could have that's an option for us. So in that case of, offering event photography, in that case, like for example, they didn't originally ask about coverage for a dinner or an event, but then they sat there and they went, "Oh my God, you could do that too? That would be amazing. We're going to book you for that too." So having those options show up there instead of just giving a number, and in addition to it, making it look so polished like this, it will stand out. So instead, you've got, say, an intern that's trying to find out the information, and they've got sent to them, "Oh, here are these 3 emails and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. And they also have this thing to give to the head person." What's going to look better, that or this? Who's going to be showing up as seeming like they're the really prepared person that is going to be worth that extra money to pay for? Next is networking. There are thankfully post COVID so many networking events going on. People are just thirsting and hungry for these to be going networking stuff. Whenever I go to a networking event, I check with the organizer first, see if there's a photographer that's already there. If there isn't, then I say, "Oh, you know what? Can I bring my camera and do some shoots where people get pictures right then and there of it?" And they're like, most everybody's like, "Yeah." And we give branding of the people you can see right here. So this is literally one I did exactly of this. I did this free. I went and showed up there, and I'm not required to be there a whole lot of time. It's just me there. If I have that in my hand and I'm doing this, it makes for me the world's greatest icebreaker. If I'm just standing there and I'm going to network, I'm like, "Hey, how are you? Oh, what do you do? Oh," and I'm like at a lab science thing. They're like, "You're a photographer? What? What? Why are you here?" Type of thing. Versus if I'm there, I'm by virtue of using Spot My Photos and doing it in a way where I ask people, take their picture, I ask them for their information right then and there. Then it's a natural icebreaker for me to talk about it, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is cool. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, I've got to use this. What else do you shoot? Blah blah blah." So it makes for me for possibly shooting more event stuff for them, and also talking about giving me a way to talk about that I do headshots. Literally same thing. If doing this, I then was asked by multiple people at that event, could I do their children's wedding? And I was like, "I'm sorry, I don't do weddings anymore." So again, just how amazing having that instant image sharing stuff of the power of that to gain having the people as a marketing tool at the same time. The really neat thing is if I'm at something like that and I'm like, "Oh, an event just came up and I don't have my big camera rig and everything." Spot My Photos even has an in-app camera now of using it right on my iPhone. I can just go and use that. So you can see all the ones in the top there, you can see nicely lit and all that. Bottom right-hand side, if I just want to demonstrate to somebody I've just met of how this works, I can still go and do the instant image capture and have them get the shots delivered to them through their platform that same way, which is really powerful for me. And then last but not least is having a good physical business card and a high quality one. The one I love the most is Moo. I have no idea why it's called Moo. Makes me think of cows, not high quality business cards, but they're high quality business cards. And they are extremely tactile. The simple ones that they have, you don't need to get laminated and stuff like that. Get the ones that are their least expensive ones. They feel almost like velvet in your hands. The quality of the images is incredible. And what's so cool is you can choose so many different images for the back of them. So when I go out on there, I have oodles of them in my hand of all the different types of photography and stuff that I do. And it's just like I said before of your website, having pictures of people that look like your target audience. I'll sit there when I go to give someone, I'll try to go and say, "Oh, here, let me give this to the person," so that they look and they go, "Oh, you know, this feels like me. I could see doing this type of thing." So there's a purpose to having that. Um, and I also, why that versus just doing like one of those link cards and stuff. Oh, yeah. And before I forget that, also make sure you ask when you are networking, don't just give out your business cards, take theirs. At the end of the night, go and connect on LinkedIn to every single person that you met. And even if you can, shoot off an email and say, "Oh, it was so nice meeting you." That way the ball is in your court instead of having it be on the onus on them to contact you with it there. Okay. Versus if you do one of those link cards and stuff and it just goes in people's contacts. I don't know how many people's contacts in here that have been given to me that way. I'm not thinking about them or going into my phone to look for them. I don't really remember them, even meeting them half the time. So, but having that physical card at the end of the night to pull out of my pocket, that's something tactile for me. Okay. And last but not least, today was a big day for me on lots of levels. It was my first B&H presentation, which I am so thankful to be here and sharing information with you guys. And at the end of the day, one of my favorite things to do in the whole wide world is help people be able to transform their passion into a profitable professions with it there. And I just like helping people. But I've come to realize that I have to be efficient with my time. And instead of just being on the phone all the time with lots of people helping them, it's way more efficient for me to do this with an online community. So today was a big day. I got to launch my online community, which is Vail Fucci Education. I believe they're putting the link to it in the chat there. It also, you can use that QR code to scan and go to it. And in there, I will have longer course videos and stuff like that. But for right now, what is currently up and running and starting with it there is my online community, which I'm calling Vail's Visionaries, because I needed those positive V words. It was fun to have some alliterative stuff going on there. And with it, I'll be able to go in there and help lots of people. We'll be doing Q&A sessions and going in depth of stuff and giving people the support they need. And it's not just for photographers, it's for videographers, it's for creatives. It's honestly for pretty much anybody who is starting, who is on that track of doing a small business and wants that guidance through the whole thing. Because so many of us, when we get into these businesses, did not major in marketing or business in school. So I went through the school of hard knocks of business and had to learn the hard way as to what worked and what didn't. And so I'm trying to make it so that all you out there don't have to hit all those speed bumps. I'm trying to make a clearer path for you. So that's what we're doing in there. So that was my presentation. I can't wait to see if anybody have questions.
Yes, we'll open it up for questions. Thank you so much, Vail. You know, it's funny. It was Imaging in Louisville was the first time when it hit me where I'm like, okay, the whole taking pictures or having a professional photographer take pictures and upload directly to the cloud might replace the people's taking, how people take cell phone images. And it was like kind of like every brand had an app and you can transfer your images directly to your phone, but it still
Mhm.
wasn't quick enough. People were still using their cell phones for everything.
Yeah.
That was the first time where I'm like, you know what? I can literally, you have the link for the whole night. Just keep going in there and refreshing. And it worked. And I'm like, wow, this is super impressive. Cause I think I'd rather wait, even if I have to wait 5, 10 minutes, I'd rather wait and have the professional image with a nice camera, someone who has it
Nice camera,
nicely
good
lit.
lighting and all that. And honestly, it all
Exactly.
just depends on the connection speed that's going on there. There are times where more often than not, it's like you have them updated in like 7 seconds or something. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
Especially when one of a member on my team will have inadvertently like photograph me in the background and I don't realize it. And I'll even feel my phone vibrate and I'll be like, whoa,
I know.
with it. So
And for most of us out there, I feel like I fall into the camp of the difference between me looking decent in a photo and me looking horrible in a photo. It's a very fine line. Like I need a professional photographer to give me that extra boost because you hand your phone to somebody and it's like, it's wide angle. There's
yep.
a ton of foreground. It's like, why does my head look 3 times bigger than my body? And yeah,
It isn't three
horrible.
times bigger than your body, Derek? Oh,
It's
darn.
it's not supposed to be. You wouldn't be able to tell from all the pictures I get from people, but no, it is. It's so great to see that this kind of technology has moved in because for a while everybody was so content for those cell phone pictures, and it's nice to see the professional photographers, the whole industry being able to pivot around that, which I think is great. We did have a question coming in for headshots. What
Sure.
is the ideal or the best focal length to use? Where do you generally fall in focal length?
Ah, I will fall into the Hurley camp on that of where, it seems random that he picked 92. 92 millimeters. And no, there is no lens that is exactly 92 millimeters. So you can do a lot of different things with it there. But the issue that you fall into is that a lot of times when people say headshot, they're not actually thinking headshot. Like right now, I framed myself intentionally for this to be looking like one of my headshots. A lot of people are thinking, oh, now the light's going to not look nearly as good. They think headshot and they're like even further back than this. It's like half body type of thing. So if you're trying to get a true headshot on somebody, even with an 85, you come up pretty close to somebody to get that. And so for people, that can feel a bit intimidating when you're doing it, because a good lot of my work of being a photographer is with headshots is making sure that people are looking happy and authentic and not freaked out. Because most people, when they initially think headshots, they are freaked out with it there. So it's getting them out of their heads with that. And so one of the things that helps is not having a camera this close on them with it there. So, and then if you go too far along, then you're now getting further away. So you're kind of barking orders at people, and you're getting even more of that compression, which sometimes you want, depending on the person's like face, but other times you don't. It might make their face look wider than it is. So
Interesting. Yeah, it wasn't until I first watched Peter when I understood how little it was about the technical aspect and more of it was just getting someone's guard down, getting them more relaxed, and all that stuff
absolutely.
that plays in, like distance and all that. You don't even think about that being too close or too far. And it's like, I'm used to getting up in people's faces, so I'm probably
The
not the best headshot
psychology is
photographer.
completely there with it.
Yeah. No, it
And
totally
it's
is. Like yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and the thing of it that gets me is, so like some people will be like, well, I can't do because I'm not Peter. I can't be like woo snappy and like the energy, or same thing. A lot of people, I'm very, very high energy on shoots, very high energy. And they'll be like, but I can't be like you. I said, you be you, boo. And so, but the important thing is that you're able to show that you care about the person. And the way that you can do that is through simple little things of just showing that you're caring about the way you're positioning things. You're making sure that their hair is taken care of, that they don't have lint there, that their collar is nicely done, that it's not like, like off one way looking strange. Those little things, particularly even if you're doing a volume headshot, go so far, because people sit there and they're like, thank you. I appreciate you. Most times I've got my headshot, I've got a piece of hair like this, in my face with it there. And so simple little things like that, and just showing them how to get that chin out and down so that they're not having a double chin like that. That makes such a massive impact on how people feel about the image and the experience that they have. So yeah, you can be bouncing off the walls funny like I am or like Peter, and that, yes, it's extremely memorable, but what's even more memorable is that positive experience of not feeling freaked out behind the camera. And even more
Totally.
memorable when you get the images and you are thrilled with the quality in a second.
The key right there. I know. I remember the first time doing the chin out and down, and it feels so weird until you see how it looks on the back of the camera. And you're like, okay, oh, tell me whatever. I trust you now. That's
Yep,
kind of like the moment of truth when you earn trust is you look at the back of the camera and you see how different it is.
exactly.
That's why there's professionals that do what they do. Well, Phil, we want to thank you. How was it? How was the first time?
I was thrilled. I hope I didn't go too fast through different stuff I covered. I realized I bit off a lot more than I could probably chew in 45 minutes. I clearly went a bit over with it there, but I am just beyond words thankful that I get to do this, and I'm excited. Next Monday, I get to do it all over again, but in much more depth on something, a topic. It'll be on behind the scenes footage, how important that is, and things to do for reels and stuff. So.
Awesome. Well, it was great to have you on. You gave a ton of great resources for people. I feel like this was like a nice introduction for people who need, because people always come on and they're like, well, what website? What do I need? People want the information and where they can go to get themselves in the right position to succeed. So you gave a ton of great information, a ton of great resources.
Yep, and
And
all those
from
QR codes are there. So if you need it, go right to there. So
awesome. Vail, can't thank you enough. Pleasure having you on. And to all of our viewers out there, she's going to be back this time next Monday. So come check her out a week from today. That is it. It's all we have for you for now. Another edition of the B&H Event Space in the books. Catch y'all next time.
thank you so much. Bye, everyone.